Okay, so when I gave the pencil back to the student who had created it, we talked about the metal piece on a regular pencil is even all the way. And I said, now this is really neat because even though your pencil is different because one side's thicker than the other side, I said when you work in a business and you learn how to create and invent things on your own, you can use this as a model and you go back and say, oh, this wasn't so great, but look, now I can go back and redo my model. And by redoing my model, I've made a better model. So it's okay if you don't get it right the first time. It's okay if you don't get it right the second time, but you're gonna get it right because you're learning from the mistakes you do make, and that's a good thing to learn from your mistakes. Sure, because then not only can you use it if you're doing computers, you can use it during media time. So when you're reading a book or when part of the class is reading a book, somebody else can be working on the computers and printing the things that they're learning or scanning their favorite book and printing that scan. Okay, so what's a flipped classroom? Everyone has the ability to have a flipped classroom, and I believe kindergartners could do it too. So a flipped classroom just means that you're putting everything on the computer. And the kids basically learn at their own pace. When they get stuck, other students help them. There's tons and tons of conversation. There's the ability to communicate with anybody in the group, whether a good example of that is we have two little boys here who I had in my classroom this past year, and they didn't get along that well, but doing this idea of the flipped classroom, they were able to help each other out in such a positive way that they didn't mind learning from each other, because by learning from each other, they learned themselves. And really that's what the flipped classroom does. And that's what all of this stuff that we've used this past 2 weeks has done for these kids. It's enabled them to learn something new, explain it to somebody else, work through the problems that they have, and then print the results. Totally awesome. Okay, so this is one of the scanners, and I got to do it, and it was really neat. But it was hard too because it takes a lot of eye-hand coordination. So you're not looking at the object that you're particularly scanning, but you're looking at the computer. So I scanned one of the little boys, and I missed half of his face. But if you have no eye-hand coordination, what a great tool, because it doesn't matter that I missed half of his face, because I could go back and do it again. But this is a great tool if you have kids that struggle with eye-hand coordination. They learn how to coordinate their eyes, their mind, the scanner, the computer, and their object. But that eye-hand coordination is the most important piece. All I know is it's really awesome, and every kid in every school should be able to do it because they learn so much about themselves. We had a little girl in here who was going into 3rd grade and saying, oh, I can't do this. But she was doing the same work that kids are going into 6th grade. Cool thing. It's got to be for everybody.
I'm going to show you how great I am.